him to this session. Just a 1 minute or 1 hour conversation. We'll let to know about him, his experience, his journey to Amazon, his works, interests, and much more. On behalf of the CodeChef chapter of GEC Palakkad, I extend my heartful welcome to you and I cordially invite you for the self introduction.
Um, Thank you for the warm welcome. Firstly, am I audible?
Yeah.
Perfect. So, I would be turning off the video camera. Just let me know if you people can see me. Hello, am I visible now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, hi everyone. This is Shomik here, and I have recently joined Amazon as an SD intern, and I'm in my final year as well. Currently in my eighth semester. Not exactly eighth semester technically, because due to COVID, the time has shifted a bit. And I really feel very obliged to come here, and thanks a lot to GEC CodeChef chapter. I feel very obliged, and I look forward to have a very good interaction with all of you.
Okay, thank you for that beautiful introduction. So, firstly, as you have joined as an intern at Amazon, we would like to know about your experience interviewing at Amazon, if you have any, and how was the rounds and that all that kind of things.
Okay. So basically this was an pool campus opportunity, technically not off campus, because Amazon conducted a pool campus for around 15 colleges in the state in West Bengal, and there were 15 esteemed colleges that were participating in the pool campus itself, and we were notified by the college itself. So we applied, and we applied our resume. There was a cutoff of 7 GPA as far as I can recall. And after that, there were three rounds technically. The first round was mostly an online assessment. Now that assessment had four sections. Yep, four sections. The sections being one section is the code debugging round, which can you can also call it the automata fix round. The second section was totally code based. There were two questions that we needed to complete from scratch, and we have to complete all the test cases. We have to pass all the test cases. Then moving on to the third subsection of that same round, it was a work style assessment round, and this work style assessment is basically an assessment of the leadership principles that you might be familiar with. Amazon puts a lot of its importance on the 14 leadership principles that they have. So after this round, we had another round, which is the last round, and that being the logical reasoning round and aptitude round. So there were this four subsection of the first online assessment round, and yeah, there were around 114 people, as far as I can recall, from the whole state that was qualified after the first round. So I might think there were some good high cutoff, because there were many people that were participating, but only 114 got qualified. And there were two more rounds after this round, both being technical interviews. Now the format of these rounds were you needed to complete questions like programming questions. They would give you questions. The number of questions is totally dependent on the interviewer, but then I was being asked two questions in my first technical interview and another two questions in my second and final technical interview. Now after that, I was also faced with some of the very basic leadership principle qualities questions, like they will give you scenario based questions, kind of an HR extension, you might say. After that, totally 19 people from all over the state were selected for this position, and I am happy to be one.
It is really nice as you have selected from one not four people. As you have mentioned about question, you remember any question? Just mention it what it is.
Yes, I think most of the questions were in the first technical interview, like after the online qualifiers. The questions were based on binary search and DP on trees. And on the second round, both of the questions, they were mostly based on, I think one was based on topological search, which is, you might call it advanced graphical algorithm. And another question was based on, I think it was also on DP. Yeah, it was also on DP.
Okay, so in our chat box, a student has mentioned about can we know about your college background and stuff? So
Okay, so what exactly do you want to know? The question is not much clear. Could you just clarify
okay,
it?
I think from where you're from, your college name,
Okay, so
branch.
my college is Institute of Engineering and Management, Calcutta, and if you speak about my background, is basically my background has been a lot on machine learning rather than web development or Android development. I have started machine learning since my second year, as far as I can recall, and I have made pretty made good contributions to many national and government bodies. Also, I've worked with CDAC, which is, you might be knowing, Center of Development of Advanced Computing India. So I have worked with that central government body. I have worked with, I've published two papers, international papers, and pretty much my background relies on machine learning itself. I did start development, like web development to be precise, in my third year. Yeah, in my third year, final semester, and it was quite late, I believe. You should start on with early. And I also did DSA as a part of my studies and preparation. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, fine. So, as you have cracked the interview of Amazon, how do you prepare for your coding interviews? Is there any platform that you work with, or any strategies, or just an advice to the
Yes. Yes, so this is a very ended question, I believe. Different people have different approaches and different interview preparations. But then the one thing that worked for me might not work for you, but then I would definitely share my technique. So basically, the one thing that I really focused into is pen and paper coding. So what I mean by is, I had a whiteboard. And I bought the whiteboard, and basically I did all the questions over the whiteboard itself. So for example, linked list, right? If you're doing a particular question of linked list, you might not need a whiteboard, but then it was beneficial for me. I might kind of trace out the pointer, trace out the different status of the linked list. If it was a recursion problem, I might do the recursive tree, and that really helped me grasp the concepts a little better and more efficiently, faster than the traditional way of doing recursion problems or DP problems. So this was one thing I highly recommend all of you to use, either a pen and paper or a virtual whiteboard or a physical whiteboard, whatever feels best for you. And regarding the coding platforms or the coding sites, if you are particularly wanting, then I would highly recommend LeetCode. LeetCode is something which has a vast variety of problems, and they have different sections of problems like easy, medium, hard. The LeetCode problems are also differentiated based on the topic, maybe the arrays, dynamic programming, binary search. These topics are well differentiated in the lead code questions. Now, a tip rather, that I basically came upon by myself is, while I was preparing, I was firstly preparing from lead code. Now, the one thing that I find personally about lead code, which is not good, is lead code has so many questions. It's easy to get, lost in so many questions. You might feel a little bit demotivated seeing so many questions. But then what I did in my final months is I shifted to Geeks for Geeks. Now I searched Geeks for Geeks, company wise questions or topic wise questions, the one thing that really helped, and I think people should be more aware of, Geeks for Geeks is an Indian website. Now what happens is basically all the questions that are being uploaded to Geeks for Geeks are from Indian colleges. These questions were asked in Indian colleges. The same is not true for Lead Code. Lead Code, I found so many questions based on, let's say dynamic programming, or so many questions. My friend had Lead Code Premium, so I found so many questions from his account that was tagged as Amazon and most frequently asked questions, but they were nowhere related to what interviewers asked here in India. So I believe that Geeks for Geeks is a better precise material. If you want to looking for a precise material, Geeks for Geeks is definitely the one. But if you want to diverse your practice, I think Lead Code is definitely the one. So I think a good strategy would be, see the time that you have. If you have around 1 year, or let's say 8 to 10 months, then 70% of the time invest in Lead Code, and 30% of the time go to Geeks for Geeks and practice very precise materials, because they have very nice precise materials updated by date. So I think that would be best for the preparation.
Okay, so we have talked about the coding. So just discuss with us about your interview preparation if you have any. Yes.
Okay, so this was a good phase, rather a phase that I was very speculative about, because after the online assessment, I saw that there was a mass rejection. There were only 114 people, so I was definitely really scared about the interviews. But then again, the resources that I used was again Geeks for Geeks. There was something known as interview experience. I think most of you people know about interview experience. You can just go ahead and Google it. Interview experience of Amazon, for example. Then you would be redirected to a lot of archives that people have uploaded, and those archives basically lay out the different questions that they were being asked in the interview rounds, and that really helped me. I remember I noted down 15 to 16 important questions on my pen and paper, and I made sure that I go through all of these. So basically it was kind of let's say for DP, right? Now, a DP problem can be specified into one of the following categories. It may either be a knapsack pattern, it may either be a LCS pattern, it may either be a matrix chain multiplication pattern. So I made sure that I went through all of the category problems, or all of the sub problems. So for example, I went through 01 knapsack, right? Now, after I went through the 01 knapsack problem, I made sure that all of the questions which follow this particular pattern uh, should be solved by me. So not everything. I solved some of the most important question based on different filters that Geeks for Geeks offer. The one filter that I used was I went to the question, I browsed the question, go to the filter tab, then filtered it by the recent questions, right? The recent number of the recent questions that has been asked in an interview. So that was pretty much the preparation. And if you know about CS fundamentals, then these questions of CS fundamentals, I prepared it during I think during the March, and the interview was during October. So I just revised my notes. It's highly advisable to make your own notes. You might use a note-taking software, maybe Evernote, maybe Notes. I think Microsoft also has a note-taking software, Microsoft OneNote. You might use that. You might use Evernote, or you might even use a classic pen and paper, a diary and paper to take the notes. And I think that note will be very beneficial. And also focus on group study. This is one thing that I really want to emphasize on. I might tell you a very interesting fact. We had 5 people in our circle. We used to prepare, discuss problems together, and as a surprise, all of us 5 have been given this internship offer. So this was one thing that I really want to emphasize on. I say to many people that please focus on group study, make peer, like not 10, 15, 20 people, rather short small groups of 5 to 7 people, and discuss your problems. I think that would highly be beneficial for all of you. So you might also get a different algorithm, different thinking, aptitudes from different people. So that will really have a good input to your preparation, I believe.
So, as you are from Bengal, and I think most of the attendees are from Kerala, I think I am pretty sure that the curriculum that we follow is entirely different from that of yours. So, what are the subjects in your curriculum that has helped you in this coding rounds?
Okay, so when I was preparing, I was in my seventh sem. So right now I'm also in my seventh sem technically. So basically, what happened is the curriculum that really helped me. So first let me tell you my curriculum that I was a part of. So there were DBMS. There were operating system. It was algorithms. There were data structures, and apart from this I think there were networking. Yes, so there was computer networking, and these were the basic curriculum that we had. Now I believe like if you are a CS student, these three or four subjects, OS, DBMS, networking, and data structure and algorithms, these three or four subjects has to be included in your preparation, because as an interviewer I have seen so many interviews. I have gave so many interviews. All of these things have taught me one thing, that these four are the primary important subjects that one should prepare. And I also believe that if you are a CS student, you might be having this in your curriculum. If not, then get in touch with a CS student, maybe someone of your college, one of your friends, and ask them what are the curriculum that they are being taught in the college itself. Get a list of it, go to any online resource. You don't have to purchase anything, you don't have to get a premium course or anything of that sort. You can just go ahead, type in the topics, read up from websites like Geeks for Geeks, websites like medium.com. They have very good technical blogs. You can practice questions from Java T Point. You can practice questions from W3 schools. They have very pinpointed questions about these topics. After you get a good understanding of these all, I said earlier, also make notes by yourself, right? So these notes will serve you like very nice in the future when you would be revising and stuff. So do that, and I think yes, pretty much that is pretty much it. Just make sure that your four of these subjects are very strong, because interviewers will judge you, will ask questions like about these subjects to you in the interview round itself.
So, in the chat box, there is a question that how much important is competitive programming to crack any product-based company, and which language is best for competitive programming?
Okay. So this is a very again a very open-ended question. How much competitive programming is important? I should rather say that if you have like very less time, then please focus on DSA first. If you have good amount of time in your hand, whether you can complete DSA, you can complete your CS fundamentals and still have a lot of time, you can go to CP. I personally prefer starting competitive programming as soon as possible, because see, one thing, during my preparation there were other guys as well who were doing CP like madly, right? Like they were always up on websites like CodeChef and stuff. But then what happened is they were behind ratings. So this is what led them to not get chance to any good companies, even being so brilliant in CP. So this is one thing that I would highly tell you, that don't run after ratings. Practice CP as soon as possible. Start doing it. Make a good understanding of the problems. Again, a peer here is very important. If you have a peer group, you can just throw away a random question in the group itself, get different ideas. I also did CP for not much of a time, rather around 3 to 4 months, I would say. And I got a good understanding of the whole the whole different topics and algorithms that are being used in competitive programming. And after that I jumped to again my DSA fundamentals, because I knew for one thing that CP might help me to clear the online round, but then in the interviews, it's all about your CS fundamentals and the DSA. So if you tell me that how much is it important on a scale of 10, I would say 8 to 8.5. So this is how important CP is. You should definitely do it as soon as possible. And If you ask me which language is best for competitive programming, according to the statistics, not according to me, according to the statistics, most of the people have used C++ as a CP language. If you follow big names in the CP world like William, if you follow big names like Eric To, these all people have used C++ a lot more, a lot wider use than any other language. So if you have a particular language preference, you can just go ahead with it, because CP can be done by Java, CPP, Python, anything. But if you do not have any particular language, and if you're starting off with a particular language, I highly encourage you to start with CPP, because C++ has a lot of inbuilt facilities. C++ has a lot of it is very flexible. It has so many libraries, and you can also use different very low level techniques like pointers and stuffs. So I think CPP is a good language to start with. The next question, as I see. Okay, so yes, I think this is a very uh, what to say, I don't know exactly if there is any bifurcation on the basis of opportunities, whether you are a girl or a boy. But I think if you are doing a machine learning and DSA, there are pretty good opportunities for girls actually. There are certain specialized hiring for these for the girls, and some of them are Amaz Wow, which is basically the Amazon's hiring spree for girls. And there is also Google Women in Tech and Adobe Women in Tech. So these are some of the good opportunities that you can grab. So I specifically, to all my juniors, I specifically say them that if you are uh, good in CP, good in DSA, sorry, if you're good in DSA and you have an opportunity to grab these particular specialized hiring, please go for it, because in these hirings the intake is very nice, and you might get a lot of opportunities in these type of hiring. So I think if you are uh, a woman candidate and you are preparing for DSA, I think you can just go ahead and like it's nothing different, but then you get good amount of opportunities to do that, because there are so many specialized hirings. You can just go ahead, do DSA and leverage those opportunities. I think that would be amazing.
So, what topics do you think that it is very important in DSC?
Uh, the topics. Okay. So let me tell you certain things. When I was doing CP, there were so many questions that just flew past by my head. I did not understand anything about the question. I thought that what kind of algorithms would do these particular questions require to solve? But then when I looked at the editorials, the solutions, I found out that it was a very twisted application of binary search. So if you tell me the important topics that you need to cover in DSA, uh, I would specifically say that cover everything from the very basic sorting searching algorithms, right? Focus on merge sort, focus on binary search. Uh, then from different data structures, if you think, I would highly emphasize on recursion. Sorry, recursion is a technique, not a data structure. I would highly emphasize data structure as trees, graphs, and some of queues and stacks as well. But it totally depends on the preparation that you're targeting, that the company you're targeting, that the kind of preparation strategy that you are going through. So it totally depends on that. But then if you ask about the techniques and the topics, I think recursion and DP demands the most of a preparation time than any other technique or data structure. So I think invest good amount of time in recursion and DP, because they take a good amount of time to get into your head, and then practice a lot of them, because these are the hot topics that companies focus a lot.
So, we have a question in
Yes.
our chat box. How our projects are evaluated in interviews? Are they giving more importance for our DSA skills than our projects?
Okay, so see, uh, understand a fact. If you have a CV, right, and you are an interviewer, so you go through the candidate CV, you see that this candidate has done 2 3 projects, and he or she has a lot of paper publications and stuff, a lot of extracurricular activities along with some projects. Now, as an interviewer, my next course of action would be to ask you different concepts, different techniques and algorithms, and the different technologies that you learned while doing your projects. So if you do not have any project in your CV or have very minimalistic projects in your CV, I think you don't have to get panicked about anything of that sort, because what happens is when you are giving some project, you are increasing the scope of asking scope of technologies that you know, that the interviewer will be asking to you, and that is a positive point. That's why people stress a lot on the projects and the extracurriculars activities that they can put on a CV and increase the width, the area of the knowledge that you have. Now, if you don't have, right, so if you don't have, I think that's not a very big deal, but try to have at least one or two projects. If it is if you are in a dire need of a project, what you can do is you might have made some projects as a part of your curriculum. Maybe for example, here in our curriculum, what happens is, for example, there was a subject in internet technology, right? So in that subject we were being taught as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, these kind of stuffs. Now, after teaching, the evaluation was not based on any examination, but rather it was based on the project. So what happened, as a mandatory curriculum activity, we all had to make a project on a website or a web application using these technologies. Now, I could have put that into my CV and that would work perfectly well. So if you have any more scopes that you make a self personal project or an internship project, or maybe a project as a part of your curriculum, you can just go ahead and put it in your CV. That would be amazing. And once you put projects on your CV, make sure that you know everything about them, because they will go really deep dive into whatever technologies that you have used and why you have used this. So like if you think in the aspects of an interview, I would specifically ask you to focus on 2 3 things when you're making a project. Number one is, why are you making the project? What is the motive? The second being, what could have been an alternate path to solve the problem that you are trying to solve by making this project? Is there any alternate path that you considered while making the project? Number three are basically, why did you use this tech stack? Like for example, someone might use React. So the next question that the interviewer might ask is, why didn't you go for Angular? Why are you using React for this? So you should be preparing for these type of questions. There should not be any like, मतलब मन किया तो कर दिया, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए, right? There should always be a reason to it. Now, this is something that I really try to emphasize on. I should have clear goals, clear understanding of the projects that I'm making and why I'm making that. Okay, so I have a question. What are the opportunities in machine learning in companies? Okay, nice. So this is one thing that I really, since I was into machine learning from a long time ago, since a long time ago, I really believe that this is a question that has popped into my head a lot more. And I have researched onto it, and then I found that if you are a fresher, right, if you are coming out of the college, getting a degree, then I think you will have certain opportunities in machine learning, but the opportunities in machine learning will be in very niche areas. So for example, if I am targeting a big MNC and I want to be maybe a ML engineer in that particular MNC, that is quite hard, because these posts, maybe ML engineer, maybe analyst, maybe data scientist, these posts are very niche profiles, right? So they have a very specific, top notch work to do. So they generally prefer either experienced candidate or a PhD scholar. So this is one thing that I really think, and I really have even watched all of these different job postings on machine learning, and I found it out that there are not many opportunities, but then there are, definitely there are. If you go to some startup, XYZ startup, like I was working in a startup prior to this as an internship, and I was a machine learning engineer back there in the startup itself. So the work was very nice, I might say, but then again, the scope of the work, the different applications of the work were somewhat, good to normal, not extremely well. But then if you are really into machine learning and if you want to pursue something that is totally inclined to machine learning and not any other generic maybe ST role and stuff, then I prefer you to get either some good industry experience, and then you can apply to your dream job, or you can just go ahead and do more research. Maybe if you I know some people, my seniors, who have done MTech and PhDs on machine learning, and then they're working at great companies like Apple, where they are machine learning engineers. They have got the post of a machine learning engineer. So either increase your degree and then apply to a machine learning engineer, or get a well industry experience before applying to these specific roles.
So we have another question here. And how should a first year start a project? And
Okay.
followed by when and how did you learn ML concepts? And how did your CV look like back then? Can you talk about your ML projects?
Definitely. How should a first, let me address the first question. How should a first year start a project? Okay. So basically, being a first year, I think the first thing that you might do, that you want to focus before starting a project, is what you have in your bag. So what technologies do you know? Do you know anything that you can start a project with? Now, if you are a complete absolute beginner, I assume that you might be knowing C at least, because that is what being taught here at least at West Bengal. I don't know the curriculum, exact curriculum that is being followed there, but here we are being taught C in the very first year. Now, if you know C, and if you want to build a project, there might not be a very good project in the very first thing, because again, the technologies that you know are very limited. So you can just go ahead and implement something in C. Maybe you could build your own vector class. Now if you know what a vector is, if you are using C++ or even Java, you might be knowing what a vector is. Vector is basically a runtime dynamic array, right? So C doesn't have a vector in it, right? So what you can do is, you can use arrays and make a vector class, a vector library, publish it in your GitHub. People might use it. People might take, import it, and use it. So these are some of the very good projects that you can make, even if you don't have much technological awareness. Like if you're not master of any good technology, but then again, if you have good technical grasp on your hand, like maybe React, Angular for front end, JavaScript or Node.js, any particular stack, then you can go about and do projects. You can just take 2 to 3 friends of yours, right? Again, not a very big group, 2 to 3 friends, decide on a project, why you want to build it, and let's start building it. And what you can do is, you can work as a team. That was basically it's, you can simulate MNC in your project itself. So basically what I'm trying to say is, you have a team of 3 and 4, and you're working on a particular project. Create a GitHub repo, right? When you create a GitHub repo, you can just push your code, make different branches, have different versions, test your code, learn testing frameworks like JUnit for Java, TestNG, Mockito. These testing frameworks are very important, and they are also widely used in the industry as well. So learn these techniques. Use any version controlling softwares like GitHub, and just go ahead and make a package of your own. Just you would find a very interesting article. If come across, I would just let me see if I come across in during this course. I would just share you. So these articles are very important thing. The article that I'm particularly mentioning about, that article has laid out the different techniques of how to make a project, how to build the project, how to insert the dependencies, and then publish a package. So I think if you are targeting a particular project, don't target it as a very simplistic project that might be fetching you marks as a curriculum, but try to publish it as a package. Once you publish it as a package, then other people can use it, and that will definitely impact a lot of people, and that will really help you building your CV, building your accolades. Now this is basically the project. And again, the project flow should always be in a methodological way, and also take 2 to 3 people in your team. Don't do project alone. You can, but then I don't recommend, because I really feel quite interesting working in a team. So you might also get a feel of how software developers work in a team, as a team in the big MNCs as well. So you can just go about it. Okay. When and how did you learn ML concepts, and how did your CV look like back then? Can you talk about your ML projects? Okay, so let me take this opportunity to actually show you my CV. I think that would basically help you getting the thing. Let me show you my CV. Yes. So I would be sharing my screen, right? And just let me know whether the screen is being shared or not. Mm, is the screen being shared?
Yes.
Amazing. So so this is basically the CV that I applied with, except for certain add-ons. I just added certain things later. So basically, if you are particularly asking for the projects, you might be seeing there are two internships that I have given, and there are again two projects that I have made in machine learning. Now, if I go back to the question was, how did you learn the ML concepts? Okay, so before I tell you the resources, let me just quickly bring through the CV. So this was the startup that I was talking about, where I was doing the machine learning internship. And if you see the technologies that I have used Python 3, deep learning, neural networks, and these are some of the technologies of machine learning. I have also used LSTM networks. So if you can grab a certain startups which are, you know, relatively easier than getting a big MNC machine learning engineer, job. If you can grab one, just take that, get some experience. I think that will really boost up your CV. And this is the second internship that I was talking about on with CDAC Calcutta. So this was also, I was working as a deep learning intern. Now, like this whole thing, the project that I did, it was basically a patented project that was later patented, and we got so many accolades of this. After this, if you see the projects, then in the project section, both of these projects, the first project was a full stack development in the sphere of full stack development, and the second project was again in the sphere of machine learning. But this was a very advanced topic, generative adversarial networks, that I did as a personal project. And you can, as I have done, you can also showcase this in your CV as well. Now, this was exactly the CV. And if you go to the publication part, I also have two published papers again in machine learning itself. So as I told you, my whole background is basically a lot on machine learning and very less on web development and app development, if you say so. So was my whole CV, right? And along with that, if you are specifically interested about the different technologies that I have, the rather not the technologies, I would say the resources that I followed while doing machine learning. um, I started off in my second year with a course which is, I don't remember the exact name. It was a course on Coursera. I think it was Introduction to Machine Learning by Andrew Ng. The instructor was Andrew Ng, and that course is a very humble approach. It's a very good course in making you understand the basic topics of machine learning, the very basic topics like linear regression, how it works, logistic regression, how it works, why is the logistic curve like that, what is the importance of logistic regression, what is the general use case, when can you use logistic regression in a real life problem. So these were the some of the topics that really intrigued me and really kind of pasted me to the screen when I was going through the whole course. And after that course, I remember I started reading research papers. So let's say I did a linear regression, right? Now I completed the whole course, linear regression, logistic regression, and stuff like that. I had a basic understanding. Now what I did, I read the first paper ever that that introduced linear regression as a machine learning technique. So okay, so this is a flow of how techniques, how research in machine learning flows. So let's say I have a particular topic, let's say generative adversarial network, right? So this network is now widely used in many industrial applications, in many research applications, but someone might have proposed it, right? So someone might have researched it and found out that GAN, which is generative adversarial network, is a kind of machine learning that you can use to leverage a particular use case. Now, someone might have published a paper, and that paper is the first ever paper to use the GAN network. So I tried to find those kind of papers, right? I did not mention, I did not try to find review papers or maybe a child paper of a major research, not like that. I tried to find the exact first paper ever published on this topic, uh, and started to read that, because the advantage of reading a very first unique idea is because they start from scratch. So they make the author, make the readers very intuitive understanding, gave a very intuitive understanding of how this particular network is being done, what are the use cases, how to improve this network, what are the loss, like if you loss is basically the metric which evaluates the performance of a machine learning model. So what is the loss metric that we are using, what is the different kind of, how is it different from other CNN networks or stuffs like that. So find the very first paper ever published on that topic and read it through. There would be many things that you won't understand, and that is when your search begins. So if you know DFS, depth first search, so you might be noting in depth first search what we have. If we have a node, we go to the depth of that node, come back, then go to other nodes. So this is exactly your how your strategy should be. When you did not know a particular word of a particular research paper, stop it right there, open a new tab, Google that word, know what that word means. Don't have to go very much into very much depth, just know what that word means. You got a context, right? Come back to the research paper again, mark that word, maybe highlight that word, paste a note in associated with that word, and write what you just understood from that word. And that's how your machine learning preparation should be. I think that is basically what I followed. And also, yeah, focus on mathematics, right? So basically, if you are doing GAN, uh, generative adversarial networks, you might come into a word, or you might come across a word known as KL divergence. Now this word is something which sounds very fancy, right? So what is KL divergence? Now if you see what is actually KL divergence, there are so many blogs on medium.com, towards datascience.com. There are so many good articles that will explain you the KL divergence algorithm in a very intuitive and very simplistic manner. If you know what is scale divergence, you are already ahead in one step in understanding machine learning better than other people. Because once you do that, you will dive into the mathematics of it. And if you understood the mathematics, very well and good. If you do not understood the mathematics, just go to the intuitive learning, right? Intuitive learning also works amazing. So I think that was basically the preparation strategy. There is no one course or one material or one PDF that will prepare you everything on machine learning. You have to continuously research about papers. And I think researching is a good hobby as well, I believe, if you are particularly into very specific fields like AI and machine learning. So yes, just go about researching other people, and I think that would be amazing. That would prepare you everything that you will as a student want to know about machine learning.
Okay, fine. So actually, we were discussing about competitive programming. So just outline us about the importance of logical building in CP.
Yes. So this is exactly why CP. Why I put a lot of emphasis on CP is because logic building is something that you would need in every sphere of whatever you are doing. Being it building a project, being in an industry, whatever. Just imagine one thing: if you are making a project, if you are making an API, there should be certain things that you want to evaluate in respect to the API. There might be latency. What is the latency time that your API responds? What is the load that your API can maintain at a particular time? Now, all these high level design, whether it's sharding, whether it's load balancing, whether it's rate limiting, all of these high level design concepts, they all originate from very basic logic building stuff. So logic building is itself very important, whether you are a student, whether you are a working professional in an MNC, anywhere, right? Logic building is important. That's why I focus that if you have time and if you want to do ML, if you want to do CP, please go ahead and do CP, because I think if you do CP, your logic building will be improved. I myself have experienced that. I started off late, but then in gradual months my logic building improved quite a lot. And then it was easier for me to grasp the DSA concepts, because earlier I was very puzzled with recursion, very puzzled with dynamic programming. I was like, what the exact thing is going on here? what is going on here. But then I, as I did CP alonghand, I think that helped me in clearing these doubts, and I think that improved the logic building. And I think that really this CP as well as DSA, this package really helped me, in logic building and stuff. Yes, so CP is important. If you have time, just look nowhere and just deep dive into CP.
Okay, as you have, okay, we have a question in chat box. Can you talking about open source contributions?
Okay, so if you are asking this question on a personal scale, like have I done any open source contribution or not? I would say I've done very limited open source contributions, but then my main focus was on research, right? So ML research was one of the things that I focused on as a student. Now, if you want to do an open source contribution, there are so many open source programs. You can go ahead with GSOC. There are so many national and international competitions. There are so many open source libraries that you can contribute to. You might be having if you are a web developer, and if you have worked with Node.js, you might be knowing that Node.js has a library of its own. Node has a library of its own where you can contribute. So these things are basically you can even contribute as a Python developer, right? So you can just go to GitHub, find their open source materials that they have, right? So they have a certain project which are being open source to the public, right? Now, just fork that particular GitHub repository, go through it, right? After you go through it, understand their code, what they are trying to achieve and what you as a developer can contribute. Now when you go a pull request, when you give a pull request, and if it gets accepted, then very nice, you have done your first open source contribution. So I don't have much experience in open source contribution as a student myself, but then yes, you can just go ahead, see different GitHub repositories that people are contributing to. You can have a Python repository, you have a Python repository, in fact you have a Node repository you can contribute to. If you want to start off with a very basic level, if you don't have much understanding of the things, you can make an open source, as I told earlier also, you can make a package of yourself, you can make a particular library that other people can import and use. So this is how you will develop as a open source contributor. I think that is a very long path when you will be able to contribute to very renowned repositories, maybe like Python Software Foundation, or maybe now Node.js repository, maybe you contributed something to React. So this would be a long path, as I think, because I've seen my friends are doing that. So they did a lot of stuff. They have invested a lot of time in open source, and I think they're pretty good in open source. One of my friends have even got a GSOC last year, and he contributed to Python Software Foundation. So I think, yes, I think this is something that you can also traverse alongside. So yeah, don't indulge in many activities, because you have 4 years, and like, if you want to be good at something, you need to invest at least a year, because the people that I know who are good in open source and who are very good in CP, they have invested at least 1 year to 1.5 year getting to that level where they can, where they are being treated as god by their peers. So this is something that I really believe you have to invest time. So don't do much of everything, but try to, in the first year, try to do everything, like get a taste of everything. Then in the second year, whatever interested you in the first year, pursue that only. I think that is how one should go about.
Okay, so till now we were discussing about preparations, strategies, machine learning projects, and much more. As you have made a huge breakthrough by being an intern at Amazon, at the moment, what do you think are the perks of being an intern at Amazon?
Okay. That is a good question, I would say. So basically, as I told you, I started my preparation a bit late. I should have started earlier. That is the realization that I made, before getting Amazon as well, and even after getting Amazon as well. Even I am realizing now that I should have started earlier. So first thing, start earlier. Now, being in response to the question that is being asked, I think it really feels amazing to be a part of the MNC like Amazon. which has such a big scalability factor. So the products that we are making, the things that I am contributing as an intern, those products are being used by so many in the whole world. They're used by millions, if not billions of people. So this is one thing that I really get very satisfied with, how my single line of code is impacting millions of people out there in the world. I think this is one of the very interesting things, as well as the scary thing, if you think in that term, that what your contribution can make uh, to the whole world. So this is one thing that I very very much really like. This thing I really like. And the second thing is, being at Amazon, and in fact in any of the MNCs, big MNCs, if you're talking about, they have a very nice work culture, right? So you have your teammates who are always motivated. They always do something or the other out of the imagination box, the normal human imagination. They always come up with certain designs, uh, like uh, if I tell you a certain personal account of it. I have a friend who is working with another big MNC, and he called me just a few days ago, and all of a sudden started off with something which I don't even know about, right? He started off something like a topic on HLD, right? So he just said, hey, why do you think this happens like this and this not happens like that? And I was like very puzzled. I said, what are you exactly trying to do? And he said, let's do something so that we get this like this. Like, I cannot tell you much details, like you would not get if you don't know the context, but then it was like this. So the thinking out of the box, this thing is very much, I fascinate it a lot. Thinking out of the box, this is basically the, you can say, the good thing about working with big tech companies and having good peer group, right? Because the team that you're working in, there are also other engineers that have experiences. There are other engineers who are very senior to you. You can learn a lot from them, right? So this is something that I think working in a good environment, working with good peers can only give you.
Okay. So next, just something weird. As you are a final year student, as I am, so just take a look back at your first year. What would be the advice you'll be giving to yourself, considering that first year student?
Hmm. Very nice question. um, So, the first and foremost advice that I would be giving to myself is, don't be panicked about what other people are doing. So during my time, when I was knowing nothing, right, knowing nothing at all, being a first year student, came into my college and started learning C, started printing Hello World. In that time, my other peers, they were doing stuffs like AI, ML, web development, Android development. I was very much, shocked by the jargons that I used to hear every day in my college. Someone has made this, someone has made that, and I felt very, very, very small, insecure about these things, that other people are doing so many things and I'm doing nothing. So then off, I started with ML. But again, the advice would be, don't be panicked what other people are doing, right? The second advice, being a first year student, or in fact anybody who is starting college, is would be to get a peer group as soon as possible, right? Get a good peer group, right? So who are aligned with what you are thinking, who are aligned with what you are practicing as a student, what your ideologies are. Discuss ideas every weekend. Have a call, have a conference call with all of them. Maybe talk for 1 hour about different projects that you might be making, about different technologies that you might be making. Even now, only yesterday only, I made a group with my peers as a WhatsApp group, where I was basically telling them, how about if we go learning high level design, and let's target 7 days for that. So make short targets, right? So if you are starting off with a certain particular project, divide that project into multiple steps, make short targets. So make a good peer, make a project, make a target, and try to achieve that target. This is one thing that I really think as a first year you should. Now the second thing that I really wanted, I also told a few time ago previously as well, I really wanted that I should have started with DSA and logic building earlier. So if you are a first year student, please focus on DSA and logic building. I know, like I have seen many people, even I used to do that. When a first year student is being taught about stack, now what happens is they are being taught about the implementation of a stack from very scratch level. They are made different structures. There is a top, there is an array, there is a left right pointer, there are certain conditions by which you can know whether the stack is empty or the stack is full. In my personal case, I used to find it very bogus. I thought to myself, if we have an implementation of a stack in C++ in the library itself, you can just import and use it. Why do I need to understand how a stack works by making a stack from very scratch? But this is where I was wrong. You should do it, right? Because that will really help you to get the algorithmic understanding. You should not use it in a production code, but you should learn it, you should practice it. While using and implementing it to your projects, you might just go ahead and take the library stack that your language have. If you have Java, if you are using CPP, you can do it. But while learning about stack, learn from the basic. Like, you know nothing, start like from the very basic, like just use a stack by implementing it through an array. So this is something that I really advise to my first year self. And this one thing again is focus. Please focus on one particular thing, or in case two or three particular things. Like, I was totally focused into ML. I did not know anything about web dev. I did not know anything about Android. But then I've seen a lot of my juniors, they're focusing on a lot of things at one time. They're doing machine learning, artificial intelligence, ML, DSA, CP, everything. So I personally do not like it. If you are good with that, if you are able to manage everything, I think that's well and good. But then I personally have a lot of hindrance of managing all of these together. And I think focus on one thing should be the prime priority, or in case focus on one or two things. Make a plan, make a good plan, like, and have targets. As I just told you, have targets. So if you are doing CP, make a plan that I need to complete I need to have my rank, my CP rank from here to here in a span of 8 months. So make this plan, make this a target. Now, chase that target. If you are able to complete it, well and good. If you're not able to complete it, that means understand that there is no growth that is being happening. So to track the progress, to track the different growth that is happening to you, you should make short-term plans. I think this is another advice that I would be giving to my first year self. So that was pretty much it. Just focus, have plans, make good peer groups, and do not be scared of other people, what they're doing. Let them do whatever they're doing. You just focus on your goal. So that is basically everything.
Okay, so it's about an hour we were interacting. I just want to know if there are any more doubts from our attendees. If you have, just post it in the chat box.
Yes, like if you are applying for the same post as a CS student, you will be facing the same interview as a CS student. Yes, definitely.
I think there are no more doubts, and I think we can conclude our session. So we have come to the end of the session. It was so good, and you made a very healthy interaction through your words. So I wholeheartedly express my gratitude to our speaker, Mrs. Saumik Nandi, for being with us for this 1 hour session. Next, I would like to thank all the attendees who had the time and patience to cooperate with this session. Last but not the least, I want to thank the CodeChef team who made the effort to conduct such a beautiful session and made it a success. So, once again, thanking you all. Let's conclude and have a beautiful night.
Thank you so much for having me. I think this was informative, and yeah, keep hustling until you get your goals.
Okay.